I hope not.
Kind of moving kind of things like
Yeah. And I don't know, I'm doing everything with my hat on today.
I was lost before I hopped on the
I use guesswork.
You can get cheap
50,000.
big bearing gauges
So do you want
too.
to do a run of that?
Can't afford a micrometer.
Needs a little
Doesn't take very
brushing.
long to memorize the typeface to do this.
Here, I'll just
Once
get the
you do it, it lasts
get that
like-
manuscript ready now.
There's
Yeah,
supposed
have-
to be
Ride the
like a poem or a sentence that helps you memorize. Like
Oh, really?
you go across. Yeah, one guy's.
I'm sure there are, yeah, that tell you, B,
Yeah.
C, D, E. and-
Yeah, like be careful, don't eat,
Yeah.
whatever. But I can I can never.
Okay. Are you familiar with the layout of the California case?
The icy
No.
Okay. The California was a step from the old system where you had literally an uppercase and a lowercase. That's where our terms come from. What it did was it introduced the uppercase letters into the case with the lowercase. So this area is the uppercase, and it is basically alphabetical, A to G, H2O, H2O, that's good, okay. P to W, X, Y, Z, and then if you had done the calculating as you were going along, you discover that I haven't got enough letters. J and U are down here, the same as they were with the Ludlow machine. The numerals are here, 1 to 8, 9, 0. Punctuation marks is a comma, colon, semicolon, period, and hyphen. And then the letters and the lowercase side are arranged according to a very old tradition that the largest boxes are the most common letters, the letter E being the most common. So as you were saying, we've got B, C, D, E, I, S, F, G. Across here we've got L, M, N, H, O, Y, P, W, comma. And we've got V, U, T, some spacing, A and R, there's the punctuation again. And then we have, actually this would normally be larger than M quads, but we've got M quads, half an M is an M. These are the sort of medium size, the word spacing. And then up here you have very thin spacing. And then there are a couple of letters over here, Q, X, Z, exclamation mark, question mark, and the letter lowercase j. So that's the whole case in a nutshell. These spaces you can see are empty in this one, and there are a couple empty over here, a couple empty here. These are used for things like ligatures, brackets. This is the ampersand down here. This may be the dollar sign. Yes, that's the dollar sign. This would be double F, FI, FL, FFI. So there are spots for those different characters, and if you've seen plans, sometimes they have accented letters up in here, or they might have diphthongs or something. So, yeah. And if you were in Europe, in a country with all sorts of accents, you'd have different cases again.
Also, they were designed country by country because of the language.
There are certainly similarities that would repeat, but the presence of accents means that there are some distinctions. Yeah, yeah. So.
My case is typo script, which you'd use for wedding invitations, and it's got a lot of other stuff up here. It's got little tails that go on the letters. So when you end a word, you put a tail on it. You know, that's, and then when you begin a word, you put a tail on it. And for the period, there's a period, and there's a period with a tail. So you've got all those extra tails that you can set. I didn't use them in this case. But.
In other words, swashes, like?
No, they're beginning strokes and ending strokes because it's basically imitating copperplate writing. So you start going down and then you make like an L. So the L itself starts at the bottom. So to imitate the handwriting, you have an extra piece that's that curve down, which matches up with all the letters. So every word starts out with a curve down, then the letter, and then the curve up at the end.
That was clever.
So you've got all these extra rows, and you've got also the apostrophe period, or no, the apostrophe S, you know, for the Smiths, and the I think it's O apostrophe for o'clock. Got extra pieces for all that, in addition to the ligatures and stuff.
Do you want to with this, or should I just go back to distributing?
Proof it on the.
Oh, we have to proof this.
And we want to see who made all the mistakes.
Well, I use a larger typeface than you do.
Because if you're really going to set type, you have to have some things set up. For instance, the spaces. I mean, I'm going to set, you know, maybe 8 lines. I'm going to be completely out of, you know, the quads. And for spaces, I've got, you know, mostly, you know, slugs that have been cut to size. They aren't real spaces. And there's all different sizes of spaces in the 3 to M space. And the 4 to M space is all different sizes of thinner space. If you're doing real setting, you want to have all real spaces here, the really 3 to M, all real 4 to M, all real 5 to M. You want to have boxes off to the side or a typecase off the side that is loaded with quads, because you're going to need them. It depends. And now if you're doing nothing but 10-point text, you're not going to use that many quads. But if you're doing a wedding invitation or if you're doing a poem, you're going to use loads of quads, you know, so you always need lots of quads. And when you get to do justification, I mean, you know, I've got, you know, I'm just throwing the spaces in here, so I don't know how good they are. If you're doing a wedding invitation, you don't want to use 3 to M spaces to begin with because they're large for the body. They're not large for the body, they're large for the X height. The X height is very small on script types. So you actually want it for your normal word space and text type is a 3 to M, but for a wedding invitation or a script face, you want to use more like a 4 to M or 5 to M for your word space. So you would actually want to have this case set up with thinner spaces here and maybe 3 to M's up there. But you always want to have your spaces, you know, all sorted out and all the same so you can just set. Otherwise, you have to stop and look at, oh, I got a thicker one there, and that one's too thick, that one's too thick, you know, and you're sorting the spaces as you go. Of course, it makes it a lot tougher for distribution now because you got to sort out all the 3 to M's, all the 4 to M's, all the 5 to M's, and make sure to get back in the right space. That's good to, when you have a monotype, you can just cast that stuff up and just throw it in the melting pot. Don't have to worry about it again. But how a case is set up has everything to do with how fast and efficient you can be. Any case here is not going to be set up well because it was used by printers who, you know, were just doing a few lines. They weren't really, you know, doing this stuff on a regular basis. All this stuff, you know, was at the end of its useful life. And so nobody was really maintaining it, you know. But if you're in a situation where you're really doing production, you want to maintain your spacing and you want to make sure you diss it and all the letters in the right place. So when you set them, as you say, you don't want to have to read it. Ideally, you want to proof the thing and then proofread it, you know. And when you're doing it here, you have to look at every line because you don't know where the last person put all those letters.